Hi, everybody, and welcome to TNM Coaching Unplugged, Desoriented, Interconnected, the space where you elevate your heart, your soul, your mind to the next level and beyond. We're so grateful and happy to have you back on our channel, listening week by week. We're also super grateful for your comments and the feedback that we consistently receive after each and every podcast. So thank you so much for being such a proactive audience and for engaging with us as well. And today, we're going to go into the business landscape. We're going to talk about high-impact teams. Recently, I've been witnessing a lot of conversations with some of TNM coaching clients when it comes to the team performance, team creating the high-impact teams, the challenges the teams are facing. And we're realizing more and more that due to the crisis we have in the world right now, the impact of pandemic, the impact of hybrid working, decentralized teams, virtual teams, teams not being able to meet that often physically, there's a high demand for people to create communication that is necessary for teams to really work well. And people are struggling. I can see that there's a big pain point. You know, when I talk to clients, they always say the team can perform better. The individuals within the team can perform better. Our team is not coherent enough. There's a lot of conversation on how do we improve this team performance. And we know that from our experiences, when team performs, everything goes well, the organization excels, we create and produce results. And it's really important that we find these new modalities of how to empower teams nowadays. And today I have a very new friend, a good friend, new friend, Nadav Wilf, who is a CEO. He's also a coach. He is an emotional intelligence expert. He is an impact investor. He's philanthropist. Is one of these people that I always invite to the podcast of many facets. But he loves teams and he loves coaching. He has dedicated part of his life in his work to create a wonderful platform that we're going to be talking about. It will empower your team to come to this high impact optimum performance through communication, collaboration, and mostly through understanding and aligning individual and team emotional intelligence. And I also want to bookmark this for the people who are listening, that I think this is an original and beautiful idea when we look into the team performance from the lens of emotional intelligence. So it's going to be a fun conversation. Once again, welcome. And Nadav, welcome. How are you today?
I am, I'm doing great overall. You know, I think for people listening, we're at a bit of a challenging time with the events that have happened in Israel and Palestine, and I was there. So yeah, just want to be authentic and open and vulnerable about it. So I'm grateful. I'm safe and focused on being okay. But very happy to be here, and yeah, just a lot of admiration for you, Zoran. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, so welcome. And thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable. And this is, again, the segue into us talking about emotional intelligence. So when you begin exploring the team performance, what is necessary for team to achieve that high level of performance, and you were beginning to look into this from the lens of emotional intelligence, how did it happen in your life? What inspired you to give the emphasis on how do we feel impacts our performance? What do we believe impacts our performance? And then how do we act in life impacts our individual and team performance? What was your life journey into that?
Yeah. And I'm 41, so there's a lot that's happened. I'll synthesize it in regards to that. I think, you know, as a child, I was very connected to my emotions and really had this intuitive feeling of being able to read people's thoughts. I mean, that's, you know, children are so connected to themselves, to source, you know, to their emotions. There's really no filter. And so I had that experience, and I used it. I tested using it for good, and I tested using it to manipulate, as a child, you know, does, that's exploring. Looking back later, you know, I realized that at around 12 years old, I started to lose it. And that was this point where I started having more and more consciousness of undesired feelings and thoughts, of being unworthy, you know, being uncertain about myself, you know, judging myself, comparing myself to others. And, you know, a lot coming from parent relationships. My parents are incredible. So grateful for them. But, you know, there's nuances to those relationships. And, in my 16, 17, I went through some depression, dealing with certain situations that I, hadn't dealt with before, and came out of that and basically said, hey, I'm going to just do what I want in life. I'm going to not let myself get hurt in a romantic relationship. I'm going to prove myself to my parents, and I'm going to start a business, and I'm going to, prove myself to everyone. And during my 20s, it was about 7-8 years of building and selling multiple companies. And at the end of it, what I realized was that I had built and sold them from a place of unworthiness, from a place of wanting to prove myself, from a place of stress and fear of failure. And so the year after I sold the companies, I was 29. And so I went from not having money to having money and traveling the world. So waking up and going, I'm in California, I'm going to go ski in Italy today, right? And just doing stuff like that, like a 29-year-old would, that had this transformation in life. And at the end of that year, what I realized was that I went out on my balcony. I was living on the 28th floor at a high-rise in San Diego, beautiful apartment overlooking the ocean. And I realized that I was happy overall. Like, I wasn't going to be a jerk about, my situation, but I wasn't fulfilled. And that feeling of fulfillment was missing. And by acknowledging that, by being vulnerable about it, I immediately started sharing that with people close to me, that experience. And right away, they say when the student's ready, the master appears. I started learning about personal development. I have a degree in psychology from UCLA, but I really wasn't aware of these programs that are available, group programs, where you go in 3 days, 5 days, retreats. Back in the day, we didn't have Facebook, Instagram, and all these, all these things that now you can, they're readily available. And, right away, a city attorney had asked me to lunch, actually, that same week before this happened, and told me about a program called Landmark. And you go in there, a great program, recommended for everyone. It's Landmark worldwide. I've registered like 300 people into the program. Not like a multi-level marketing thing. If you like cults, it's great. But I went in there and things just started shifting, falling away. I finally was able to understand my parents and my dynamic with them. And, within a day, we'd been to therapy and things like that together. And so my life just transformed. And within 2 years, I finally loved myself fully. You're going to see as this goes on, I like to measure emotions and ratios and things like that. And I would say I was at a 3 out of 10 in self-love. And I reached a 7. And, then an 8, and then a 9. And I really realized what self-love is. And it's this ability to love yourself regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what you've done, and forgive yourself. And that doesn't mean go, do bad things and impact people in that way, but it's this, going back, kind of treating yourself as like your inner child, right? Or your child, you love your baby. And so what the shift that I made was starting these new companies and this new journey with the past that I've had and with the realizations that I've had, and understanding that I was going to do everything from a place of self-love, from a place of prioritizing emotional intelligence and desired emotions, and with the belief that I was going to prove that more can be achieved through feeling how you want to feel versus the pain or fear of feeling how you don't want to feel, right? So instead of fear of failure, a embracing and desiring a feeling of worthiness and success. And I went forward to prove that out. And well, here we are.
Hey, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing the story, because it's always interesting for people to know how did we arrive, to that moment and point in our life when we do focus on emotions? And as you said beautifully, when we really focus on desired emotions that we really want to feel to create reality going forward. So here we are, and we are in the context of the team development. So tell me, how did you then move into developing the Align, and what's going on in Align in relationship with teams?
Yeah. So I just been speaking for a while. So I when these interviews, you always like to take a break just to make sure you don't go on and on. It was something, there's kind of, I think being selfish is important when you're coming from an aligned place. I think self is a beautiful thing. So being selfish is a very important thing. And I decided that, this emotional intelligence around teams, one, I felt like I could make more money and be more successful through optimizing emotional intelligence with my team. So for anyone listening, entrepreneurs, like there's going to be multiple things that I equally prioritize, but I just want to say, you reach your goals faster, you're going to enjoy it more, you'll make more money, and you'll save more money by prioritizing emotional intelligence. And that's proven by science, that's proven in the field. You know why things don't work. And it's normally because there's a lack of good communication. People are hiding things because they don't feel safe to fully share. And so that's one thing. The other thing is I care about my people, right? And I want them to feel good, and I want them to be happy. And selfishly, again, I don't like spending a lot of time on what's not working. And so when people come to me as a manager, I love that with Align, they're coming with their emotions processed. So, I'll give you an example, right? Resentment, right? Resenting a team member, right? Let's say that Zoran and I are not getting along, and this has happened many times before in regards to the situation with team members. I'm just contextualizing it for us as an example. I can just feel resentment towards you. So that's going to lead to a certain level of performance and a certain experience in the workplace. Now, if I understand that, that's another level of awareness. Hey, I'm feeling this, and I want less of it. So that's kind of, there's I don't even realize it, and I'm just, acting. There's level one is I realize it and don't know how to deal with it.
Yes.
Or do. And then level two is I want to feel support. I want to feel supported and supportive. Great. Now I have this opening, and I'm, whatever you believe in, you're connected to source, you're connected to just a great brain pattern, you're connected to God, whatever you believe in. And now I have a place to relate to Zoran in a way that I can, basically go, hey, I was thinking about it, feeling a bit resentful. I want to feel supportive and supported. Here's some actions or systems that I want to implement to create more support between us. And then, so I've processed that, right? Now, if a team member comes to me and is sharing that they've done that, they've already made that choice and starting to implement it with a team member in our one-to-one, then I can, basically go, hey, well, how is this already impact? It's working amazing. We're seeing that, sales have increased, or our, project management, we're actually reaching, our timelines at a higher efficiency. And then guess what? I can go, let's share this with the rest of the team. You guys are doing, daily huddles now. You've implemented that. This isn't rocket science. This isn't something that, God came down and, gave us this download that no one's ever thought about before. It's just because of the resentment, a common practice or a best practice is not being implemented because there's resentment between these people. And instead, we want to be supportive. Let's move through that with this. And guess what? It changes really quickly. And so my motives were around profits, around, being the type of leader I wanted to, and really, creating efficiency where I got to focus more and enjoy more of what I do, because I don't enjoy conflict and I don't enjoy that, people being stuck. And so just proving out that teams perform better. Our process is creating awareness, and we're able to create awareness within 10 minutes of a team session. And then just awareness, responsibility, people sharing verbally how they're feeling. So taking responsibility, and in that same session, empowerment. Here's the action that I want to take. So awareness, responsibility, empowerment is really our process and what we focus on.
Beautiful. And I love that. Awareness, responsibility, and then action. So can you show us just a little bit into the tool, how would that work? Because I know people can get curious, and also for the people who are listening to this on Spotify or on other devices, we're going to reference this video into the description of the podcast so you can then also see what we're talking about. Because I think that the simplicity of becoming aware of how you feel, taking full responsibility, and then taking action is exactly what teams do need to be able to have more powerful communication, to be able to move to the conflict or tensions very, very quickly. And we know that. We know, as being a part of the team or being a team member, we know that this is happening all the time, but we never have a full ownership of this because we don't have these conversations.
Yeah.
And usually bypass it and focus on performance, focus on the target, focus on the goal, and, focus on building up the team spirit, but we're not authentic to how we really feel. And I think that ability for us to kind of become aware, to really have full responsibility, to be fully authentic, again, like you, Nadav, myself, I've seen this again and again and again, then the performance, the bottom line, whatever we want to create works. But for me, this is essential part. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll share, and also for anybody listening, we're putting a link to the 90-second demo. So again, if you can't watch it or don't want to go through and, watch everything, then, we're giving you a 90-second on this as well. So just for starters, I like people to understand the structure. So all of what we're sharing gets done in about 2 hours a month, 2 30-minute team sessions, a 15-minute one-to-one coaching session, personal session, and then another 15 minutes where person will review their own mindset on their own, okay, to build awareness. Now, everybody is on the same topic at the same time initially, right, in the 2 team sessions. So this one's around time creation. Now, there's 12 areas of business, 12 areas of life. This is an example. There's sales, there's marketing, there's leadership, there's communication. This is time creation. Now, what we've done is built out a library of feelings and thoughts, undesired and desired, for every area. And we did this through hundreds of sessions with thousands of people, and just understood what they were feeling and thinking about topics. And so people will, essentially pre-session or during the session, choose the undesired feelings they have around that area, choose the desired feelings they have around that area. Within 30 to 60 seconds, people are aware of their feelings. That's a massive breakthrough. This can take a long time, but because of visually seeing it, the fact that the common feelings are there to choose versus them having to dig down and understand them, and then being able to click on them is key. Then what we've provided is what the team member sees is the most common beliefs that go with those feelings. Okay. And so again, these are all relatable, right? And so they can go ahead and edit them and change them, as much as they want. But a lot of times people go, hey, whoa, how does this app know what I'm thinking? It's because there's a Buddhist saying, we are never unique in our suffering, right? We're all very special, but in our thinking and how we feel, we're very rarely unique.
Love that. I agree.
Yeah. And that's why people fear being vulnerable, because you think, well, no one else is feeling this, right? No one else is experiencing this. And then as you can see, if you're watching, it starts to show you, hey, you want to feel inspired. Do you also feel jealous? And if you do a little bit, you can choose it because you want to get in touch with that, right? Or if I was only choosing the undesired, it's going to encourage me to choose the desired feeling and thought. So it's directional, right? It's like I shared with the example of resentful and supportive. It's like, we want you to know how you want to feel. That's the key. And so a lot of times we just don't understand how we want to feel. We say we're stressed. How do you want to feel? Less stressed. No, we don't want to feel less of what we don't want. We want to feel more of what we want. And so we have to understand that. And that's law of attraction. That's psychology. And then people put the intensity level that they're currently experiencing it. Okay. And for me, not to show off, but again, I've been doing this for a while using the tool. That's why my numbers are so high. But you can actually see, I'm gonna, be open and vulnerable with you that, my numbers have not always been high. And so now what I'm showing you is actually my personal align ratio, my feelings and thought patterns in the area of time creation. And you're going to also see my journey. And you can see that, last year, about a year and a half ago, I was at 66% desired. And now I'm at 95% desired. And I really want to underscore this. We talked about what we want folks to take away here. We want you to take away that emotional intelligence is an incremental journey. And embracing and enjoying that journey and knowing your goal of how you want to feel and think, which is the emotional intelligence goal. And just like with exercise, you do it 4, 5, 6 times a week, just like with sports. Any of you who are listening that have, been high performance athletes, that incremental improvement is what wins games and championships. That's why we practice. And so this creates a framework and a structure within companies that's only an hour and a half or 2 hours a month that has you practice. So you can see that, you can see my graph. It's just been this incremental improvement, right? And then I have all this data and team members are able to go in and understand, where they're at. And so the responsibility part is an aligned share. And so you have awareness now. The responsibility part is reading, you're feeling the pattern and the intensity out loud, and then create an action, right? And so again, I have very high ones here and overall because I do this consistently. But let's use overwhelm as an example. I have this undesired feeling of overwhelm. My undesired pattern is feel overwhelmed by the amount of work that I have. And it's at intensity level 1 now, but you can see that it was at a 7. It went down 6 points. Well, let's say I was at a 7, then my action would be, hey, you know what? I need to make some time to research best practices of how to time. And, then I would, or maybe I need a time block and every day make 2 hours to focus on tasks. Or I need to hire a really great coordinator to support me. I mean, you start to break apart these bigger situations into the specific mindset patterns and take micro action. What I want to underscore here is these aren't, like these gifts from God, this coach handing down this, you've never heard this before. But what we find is that people normally take 1 of 4 actions, which is it's currently in our process, but we're not doing it because of a high undesired intensity level. Like we know that we should be time blocking, but we feel scarcity. And so we don't have enough time to do it, or we don't have enough time to put it in the project management system, or collectively, we're not implementing a best practice within the company that's available through, ChatGPT, Google, whatever it is, because we have a high fear of being open and transparent. And so we're not doing that collectively as a company. The third action is this needs to be addressed within an existing meeting agenda item, a one-time new meeting, or some recurring meeting, or we need to hire an expert. Actions almost always fall under that. So you can start understanding how easy it is to start relating to emotional intelligence with just an hour and a half or 2 hours a month, bringing the team together, and creating those actions. Now, what I'm going to share next is really where a lot of the power is, where Now what we're showing is the team collectively. And this is an example of a company that's worked with us for over 18 months around communication, okay? They're at 84% desired, 16% undesired in the area of communication. And you can see that they weren't born with it. Just about a year ago, they were at 63%. And they, started focusing on it and again, saw this incremental improvement. For those of you who are listening, I'm going over this trend graph and just showing over time. It went from, 63 to 69 to 78 to, 84%. And what we're able to see collectively, which is great, is one, who is the best communicator, right? Who's a leader in this area? Everybody has areas they're strong and areas they need support. So we can start going to those team members that have, are at 91%, 92%, 100% in the areas of communication and modeling their actions, systemize those within the company and start having amazing communication. Additionally, what we're able to see is who's achieving, right? So we're able to see the different achievements that people are making in communication, the actions that led them to there and their journey, right? Around that. Like you can see this is the CEO of the company. He's gone from a 8 to a 2 and annoyed in communication because he realized he's being impatient. He's not, making the time to really listen to people because he's a CEO. He's got more to do than time available, but it's not paying off. And so he's chosen to make that choice to reduce that. And the last thing I'll say, before I hand it back to you is it shows you what are the most prevalent feeling and thought patterns within your team, within departments, and within companies. And so what there is to address. So here, half the team wanted to feel more understood, but they were at a 6.7 out of 10. So it's below the desired threshold of 8. And we want to address that. So in the sessions hey, what would make you feel more understood? People are sharing, they're sharing action, we're sharing best practices, we systemize those. And, guess what? In the coming weeks and months, people started feeling more understood because they created systems within the company to foster that. And even as importantly, less and less people felt misunderstood, right? Additionally, open communication. That was at a 5.7 before. It's at an 8.3 now. And you can, again, just in the session go, hey, you're at a 10 and feeling open, right? How are you doing? And the person can share. So you're going into these team sessions, these individual sessions, knowing what people are already thinking and what they want to talk about and what journey they're on. And what does it do? It creates incredible amount of efficiency in communication, in coming to resolution, in being solution oriented. And I'll just go back to the 3 reasons I did this. 1, more money, more sales, people feeling good, which leads to also more money because you have a higher level of employee retention and satisfaction. And thirdly, the desire to be efficient with our time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, and really for the viewers to understand how the tool works and how we can not only understand ourselves, but we can see those emotions on the screen, which I think it's a power of this. Sometimes we get really intertwined with our own inability to understand how we feel and to really label it and to nail it down. And, for me, human beings are predictable. We're all in the same, as you said beautifully, we're essentially different, you being you and me being me. In our essence, we have different journey, different life stories, and that we have uniqueness around us. But there is a lot of commonalities how we feel. And then when you can really see those feelings, I think it's absolutely easy to gain this awareness and then to take responsibility, and then from responsibility to take the action. I think that's a wonderful thing. And also moving into transparency. What I love about working with team like this, it's just being open and transparent, because in a traditional old-fashioned organizations, people are hiding. They're not open about how they feel. Very rarely they would share, or in a traditional team building event or corporate function, when everybody gets drunk or they lose their shields, they will begin then really saying to you, I'm really frustrated with you. You piss me off because the way you communicate with me, it's diminishing and it undermines my power of authority, but I would need to be under toxic influence to be able to open up and share, so, and it's still happening. I still, 2 weeks ago, I was at a corporate event with a client, and, people were in the session, and we were trying our best to get everybody to share how they feel. They could, and they wouldn't. And then everybody got drunk, and then suddenly everybody's open, and usually people will say, but don't talk about it afterwards, because, now everybody knows the big secret, right? So what I love about this is that the essence that really makes team powerful and strong is that our ability to be transparent about how we feel, to love and support one another, to really honor each other, to reach that highest state of the feelings when we are moving from lower indicators to the higher indicators, from overwhelmed, for example, to be feeling inspired, whatever this counterbalancing feeling. And then we can share in a beautiful, transparent, and open fashion, because when we do that, then the true team spirit, which is essence of our ability, partnership, support, sharing, loving, doing things together, comes about really freely, and then we can co-create miracles. And as you said, productivity, money, wealth, whatever the end game is, it just happens. So,
yeah, and I think it's really about compassion. And everyone comes with the past, right? And everyone's coming into work with the past. And some of us were overly, their families were so open with emotions, where it was like leaking everywhere and didn't feel safe. Some people came from very healthy environments, and some people on the other side, where you weren't allowed to talk about your emotions, right? It just wasn't there, and it wasn't safe. And so when we understand that and create this safe space and environment to do it, and I think the key is getting everybody, getting everyone understanding a framework, right? It's just like project management, just like CRM system. It's it's just like calendaring. It's just like EOS, OKRs, KPIs, right? When you start to really get the team visual, it's visual, it's touch, and it's audible. Right, it's actually three of the senses, and so everybody starts to follow that. There's this. It leads to performance, just like with any other structure, right? Like any sports team, they start following a special offense or defense or plays. You start getting it, and it's performing, and I think that's a beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, and what. My favorite thing around all of this, Nadav, it's what makes human being human. It's our ability to feel.
Yeah.
It's our ability to think. I think that thinking, it's overrated. We all use our mind a lot, and we got trained to use our mind a lot. But for me, in the essence, when you look into the humanity and who we are, this deeper ability for us to experience emotions, to feel emotions, is super important for all of us. And again, in the context of organizational development, corporate work, sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to fully express that. And I'm so grateful and happy that a lot of people would use this system to be able to open up and feel and understand and follow it and share it and see how other people feel. And also the elements of understanding, in the case that you have shown, who is the best communicator, what are the behaviors he or she is modeling, why is my CEO frustrated, why are they not available, to me, and so on and so forth. So the healthy working culture can be created.
Yeah. And once you understand that, the action is really the easiest part to know what to do. Not every action is going to be successful, right? But any high performer knows it's about making choices quickly, right? Form choices quickly, not letting choices go on and on. That's not a great practice. And so when we have the data, can assess the situation. The action is a Google search, a chat GPT prompt, a request from an expert away, right? And then you go there and you start optimizing, and this worked, this didn't work, but we're making progress and progress. And to get a bit woo-woo for a second, humans experience the universe expanding as wanting and fulfilling on our wants. And that's progress, right? And so when we are experiencing progress, that's when we're feeling most alive, most productive, happiest and supportive. And so it really, what emotional intelligence does is help, think about a flowing stream or river, right? And there's some natural dam there, right? That, sticks and stones. And when you start pulling it apart and letting it flow through, right? And you build that flow with your team, things that have been stuck get unstuck. And the takeaway that I think is really important for everyone here is just repeating it from earlier is, if you believe that emotional intelligence is important, which I encourage you to if you do, wonderful. And if you don't, just experiment that it is, right? You can be right about it not being important again in 30 to 60 days, right? Yeah. Do something, bring a line or a different methodology or, something else you find that feels like it's best for you, to your organization, and have a 60 to 90 day commitment to bringing emotional intelligence in. Because what most companies do and teams do is they do strategy and execution. If you're doing strategy and execution on top of very healthy, flowing emotional and thought patterns and, alignment, there's a higher likelihood of success. If you're doing strategy and execution on top of unexpressed emotions, resentment, fear, of transparency, being fired, of scarcity, time scarcity, then you can still be successful. You just won't enjoy it. And the likelihood of success is lower, or the likelihood of reaching your full potential in a shorter amount of time is lower when creating on top of that foundation.
Which is feeling good about ourselves, experiencing more positive emotions and building it up and being able to process, whatever, holds us back. We can talk about this forever. It's one of these podcasts that we can just go on and on and on.
Yeah. Especially looking at each other in pretty faces.
It's such a juicy topic, and I think it's such a original thinking. It's always welcome in this conversation. So, call for action, Nadav, from your point of view, for our existing clients from T&M Coaching and people who are listening and want to become future clients when it comes to the understanding more of this modality, practicing, playing, experimenting. What will be a call for action for our listeners?
Yeah. So what I just shared around focusing on emotional intelligence. And if you want to support from Align specifically, then go to aligncoach.co. It's also going to be in the description, and we'll provide you with a complimentary coaching session. There's a big blue button on the website. You click that, you're going to choose a Calendly. We'll make a difference for you in that session. There's no obligation to buy or move forward. And in that session, we'll even offer you another, more offers of very affordable coaching and even complimentary 30 days coaching. We have the opportunity to provide that. So yeah, go ahead and click and just, schedule your session. And we promise you, one of our commitments is, our purpose is democratizing emotional intelligence, or emotional intelligence for all. So even in our introduction process or in our sales process, we want to provide emotional intelligence and make a difference for people who don't buy from us as well. And so that's our commitment to you if you do that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nadav, thank you so much for presenting this for the audience. Especially for the business people, this is one of these things that we do need to focus our attention to, focus our presence to. I think now more than ever, I feel this is an important topic to address. We do need to become more transparent about our emotions, about how we feel. We do need to understand that this is the fuel that really creates the powerful, high-impact team that gets people to collaborate and work together. So now is the time. And one of my favorite coaches in TNM affiliation, she says, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. Meaning, if your team is not having fun, you're not doing it right. If you are not feeling inspired every day to show up at the work, you're not doing it right. We can all force ourselves to achieve, to accomplish, to execute on strategies, as Nadav said. But how do we really feel while we're doing it? And this is what we remember. We remember the organizations that did make us feel fantastic while we were doing what we were doing. We remember team members who were able to have these conversations around their feelings and then clear it up and then move on and synergize a bit more. This is what really counts. So my call for action is watch this space, sign up for the free trials, and hopefully we're going to work together in the future with these wonderful tools. Once again, Nadav, thank you so much for joining in. It was a pleasure to have you. And for everybody else, once again, thank you so much for tuning in and listening week after week. Bye for now.
Bye. Have a beautiful day, everyone.